Hey guys, welcome to the Chill Zone. Today we're going to be talking about version 6. It's a very interesting video we've got lined up because, this is just such an exciting time. Everything is just lining up perfectly for OriginTrail to show its power this year. So last year was pretty great. Last year we had some pretty good statistics and some good numbers coming out of the OriginTrail network. But this is the year that I think we are going to absolutely explode. And I mean that. So for this to come to fruition, we're going to be going through the updates recently released by the OriginTrail team on the OriginTrail Decentralized Knowledge Graph version 6 going live, its launch, and all the things that we need to do to basically prepare for this new phase. So today, one of the main things we're going to be going through what OriginTrail is slightly. Then we're going to dive into some new components from the OriginTrail ecosystem like UALs, as well as we'll also be talking a little bit about the interoperability between OriginTrail and Google. Now, we won't be diving too deep into any of these sections today. Then we will dive into what is required per these steps and what the size of the bounty, the rewards you'll be getting for participating. So without further ado, without wasting any more of your time, let's begin. And of course, we're going to start this off by giving this section here a little read. Simply put, the OriginTrail DKG is a marriage of two powerful technologies, blockchains and knowledge graphs. Blockchains are used as trust networks that power verifiability and transactability of Web3 assets. Of course, we know this. We know that on top of our network nodes, that's really where our decentralized knowledge graph lives. We have the knowledge graph that's being used for all the great discoverability, linking, processing of linked data, understanding, getting all of that semantics to work for you, for your organization, for your systems, for your computers. And then we have the blockchain layer, which then adds immutability and verifiability to the data assets on the knowledge graph itself. So we're combining these two technology stacks to create something that is even more beautiful, more robust, and can service all of Web3. For example, it goes on to say, to organize a universe of assets, be it those that do exist in the physical world or digital assets like NFTs and fungible tokens, the knowledge graph capabilities enable discoverability of assets, driving their value through interconnectivity based on network effects known as Metcalfe's law. So I would like to highlight here, even for you new OriginTrail folks, because the reason why I'm going over this is because I have new OriginTrail folks who are reaching out to me for context on how these things work and why they work the way they do. This is why. And it's also important to understand that we're not just talking about NFTs and different data sets from within Web3. We're also talking about physical, tangible items. We're talking about, for example, this Mac. This Mac. We're also talking about this stand, this device stand. We're talking about putting this mouse into the metaverse. We're talking about putting this little piece into the metaverse. We're going to be able to uniquely identify and categorize and bring all of these physical, tangible things into a Web3 world. Well, what does this do? We can talk about that a little bit later on in this video. We'll get to that shortly. But for now, we're just going to stick with this. So that's really what OriginTrail does. That's what we know OriginTrail of in its current form today. And what we're doing is we're releasing version 6 of the network. And it says the next phase of the DKG's evolution will be facilitated by the upcoming 3 phases. It says will not only bring order of magnitude performance improvements, but also new capabilities like universal asset locators and driving interoperability with its predecessor knowledge graphs, the Google Knowledge Graph. This is a vastly more performant and universally useful version of OriginTrail, uniquely positioned as the knowledge graph of knowledge graph, elevating this powerful technology as the centerpiece of Web3. So the team themselves are acknowledging that they understand, they're fully aware that OriginTrail, the semantic layer of OriginTrail, is a centerpiece of Web 3. It is what Web 3, the embodiment of all the things that we want Web3 to accomplish, all the things we need, these automated services and all of these different utilities that we're building out, these different frameworks. The Web3, the knowledge graph, will be the centerpiece of Web 3, in the same way that in Web 2, even though these entities like Google and such do have knowledge graphs, they're still Web 2 because they're not all about that interconnectivity. They still operate within those siloed. They don't think they don't necessarily apply the level of ecosystem thinking that OriginTrail applies. So there's a fundamental difference in this approach. So OriginTrail is coming with the ecosystem thinking approach to building out knowledge graphs, which will then turn it into all knowledge graphs combined. We're talking about Google, Twitter, Amazon. Imagine being able to query across all of these different knowledge graphs and obtain data from which you can then build applications, build new tools, build new services. This is the start of a new .com boom in a sense, you know. So what's happening here is being able to, and we will dive into universal UALs and also Google. So let's start off with what they have to say about the Web 2 giants and how they are moving into Web 3 via OriginTrail. It says the largest Web 2 organizations, Google, Amazon, Facebook, Netflix, have managed to generate enormous value by capturing tremendous amounts of data in their respective knowledge graphs. However, all of these knowledge graphs are still their own centrally controlled islands of knowledge. We were just discussing that. The upcoming DKG version 6 brings the capability to generate and grow such value for the entire Web3 ecosystem, as well as enabling all existing Web2 knowledge graphs to interoperate and extend their reach to Web3 assets using OriginTrail. So when you think about what's happening here is OriginTrail is applying the same technology of Google, Amazon, Facebook, and Netflix, but to Web 3. So we're arranging all of these NFTs, all of these physical assets that we just discussed, all of these different things, and we're putting them into the knowledge graph for Web 3 in the sense that we know today. In the sense that we know today, when we say Web 3, we're thinking about crypto and whatnot, but Web 3 is more than just crypto, right? But in the sense that, let's say we're just talking about crypto, you know, we're bringing all of the Web 3 to crypto, all of that connectivity via the knowledge graph. But what we're also doing is allowing Web 2 knowledge graph giants like Google, like Twitter, like Facebook to be able to access the assets of Web 3. So even they may be able to, for example, you may want to see a Facebook NFT store or whatever, and they want to have an agnostic NFT store where they have NFTs across all of the different blockchains or whatever. Well, using the OriginTrail decentralized knowledge graph, it is something they can achieve if the assets are in our knowledge graph, and of course if they're willing to be shared and whatever permissions and whatever. But the fundamental fact is that we will be allowing these Web 2 giants the ability to integrate with Web 3 and do whatever purposes they need to do. And we're also allowing for those who leverage OriginTrail to be able to query across all of these giants, which would then mean you're able to build more robust Web 3 applications. Imagine having all the data from Google to use in your application, but not just all of it in some sort of random unverified way. We're talking about verified data, which means, you know, bringing off-chain data on-chain by leveraging the decentralized knowledge graph. This is a massive thing. Imagine being able to now configure smart contracts that interact with real-world objects. Imagine building NFTs that interact with real-world objects, dynamic NFTs in real time, and based off of like various other data sets. So we'll talk a little bit about that and how that can work, but this is the level of community and congruency and network thinking that we're instilling across the entire globe. And now, does Google know about this? Does Google care about this? They do. and they care. So this is the level. This is why I'm so excited that these sorts of giants, they care about OriginTrail. They care about what we're doing. They're interested in us. They're interested in what we're doing. So just excited to see that we have started this as a community and now we're pushing it onwards. So version 6 brings so much performance increases and so much scalability that we can then now say, hey, this is where you are going to be. This is the street, this is the home, this is the place you want to be. So this is very exciting. So now we're going to start talking about the UALs. So let's read. The DKG version 6 is also introducing an important new primitive to Web3, a universal asset locator. Similar to how uniform resource locators, URLs, made it easy to reference an object, example, a website or a document. In Web 2, UALs have the same impact to help organize assets from the physical to digital world. So remember earlier on we were talking about physical items like my mouse, my computer and whatnot, putting that onto the OriginTrail, allowing you to build applications and whatnot off of these physical existing items. Well, how do you do that? How are you going to be able to uniquely identify these items? This is basically what a UAL is doing, but this offers a lot of flexibility for developers. So let's dive into a little bit of what a URL is. Now, I want to caution you that UALs, nobody in the community knows what a UAL really looks like as it relates to the DKG, this new implementation. We haven't really seen this layer before. There aren't really a lot of documentation on this topic. So if you want more of that information, you're gonna have to obviously wait for the team to release some, their documentation and whatnot. So what we're doing right now is speculating heavily, but of course, since we understand technology, we can make a couple assumptions on the functions of this particular primitive. So let's read a uniform resource locator, colloquially termed. By the way, that term colloquially, I practiced it so much times before this video, you have no idea. That term single-handedly defeated me. Anyway, a uniform resource locator, colloquially termed a web address, is a reference to a web resource that specifies its location on a computer network and a mechanism for retrieving it. A URL is a specific type of uniform resource identifier, URI, although many people use the terms interchangeably. URLs occur most commonly to reference web pages, HTTP, but are also used for file transfer, FTP, email, mail to, database access, JDBC, and many other applications. So you're seeing how URLs basically is used to uniquely identify a particular asset or file or a website, asset in a computer network. Now, it goes on to say most web browsers display the URL of a web page above the page in an address bar. A typical URL could have the form of, and we have an example of a URL here. When you break down this URL, you can see that there are different components to this URL. As it says here, HTTP indicates the protocol. The host, where you are, is indicated by the host name. And the file name, the actual asset we want to reference, is indicated by the asset name. So what I'm saying is, in the OriginTrail decentralized knowledge graph and the UAL layer, what we may be seeing is the UAL notation may represent something similar to this. Now, I'm not, again, disclaimer, I'm not saying that this is what it looks like and this is what it is, because I haven't seen anything. But we may see something like DKG / host name / a unique identifier, and that will be used to uniquely identify that particular asset. So now you're asking me why does this matter? I mean, if you have an asset from a blockchain, it is already uniquely identified within that particular blockchain, no? So what happens when you're connected to multiple blockchains, which we are, and what happens when you're pulling in IDs and identifications from all sorts of different domains and systems and for example, real physical items like GTINs and whatnot? What happens when you're trying to merge all of these things into one into one domain, which is the decentralized knowledge graph. Well, even though they have unique identifiers for them in their typical workflow, they still need to be uniquely identified within the knowledge graph as its own asset. So what this then does is it takes all these different items, all these different physical assets, all these different NFT data assets, all these different sort of data assets, right? Raises them and puts them into the decentralized knowledge graph, by which you can then add various properties to. So this is where you can keep updating and dynamically editing. You can uniquely identify a particular asset, and you can now link it to another asset. So this is where you can see like dynamic NFTs coming into play. So let's say I link a particular NFT and I say, this is my NFT and these are the properties of my NFT. But it changes if this IoT device, for example, let's say a rain catcher, or I don't know, whatever IoT device, it changes such that if the temperature gets cold in Berlin, my NFT, my Berlin NFT will switch up and become cold. Or if the temperature, so this will be based off of live data. So this is just an example. I'm thinking, of leveraging a UAL with an NFT and seeing like how use this new UAL and combine it to another asset in the decentralized knowledge graph to create something even more powerful and even more robust. So that is an amazing addition to the ecosystem. I can't wait to get more information. So we're just gonna stop talking about that at this level here. So next we're gonna dive into the compatibility between OriginTrail and Google's API. Let's read. The DKG version 6 comes with improved discoverability, performance, and semantic powers, which uniquely position it as the neutral, permissionless middleware for all semantic technology. Let's pause there. Remember, because the OriginTrail is neutral, it doesn't subscribe to any particular blockchain network. It doesn't subscribe to any particular Fortune 500 entity. It doesn't subscribe to any Web2 giant. It just helps everyone everywhere, just like what TCP/IP, the internet, right? OriginTrail will serve as a middleware for all semantic technologies because of its open source nature. For example, with V6, you'll be able to query both the OriginTrail decentralized knowledge graph and Google's knowledge graph at the same time with the new DKG API. Now you may be wondering, why does this matter? I'm not going to tell you why it matters. Let's listen to Branimir tell you why this matters. And of course, if you've been listening before, you already know why it matters and the kind of power it brings. But why not hear from Branimir himself? Let's go.
Telegram's going nuts right now over what you just said about this Google thing. And so I'm obviously going to pry into this a little bit. So first of all, what do you mean that you can tie into Google's knowledge graph and search Google? But also, what would Google think about this? Would Google be accepting of something like this? Is this a value add to Google? Is this a value add to the ODN? Or is this kind of like stepping on Web 2's toes?
This is like opening doors to a new galaxy for Google-like companies, which so far were only able to travel in the vicinity of this Earth. So I imagine companies like Google would be happy as a kite.
So what would the Google integration really mean, though? Can you explain that in layman's terms? Like give me an example why it'd be advantageous for the ODN to, search Google's graph as well.
Yeah, so from the perspective of somebody utilizing knowledge graphs, one of the key things that knowledge graphs bring is network effects. So you want to get as much data as possible and sensibly connected in some worldly sensible way, so that when you ask a question to the knowledge graph, you literally query. You do either a search query, which is like we all do that on Google, but other queries as well. Literally questions, things like you ask Siri, you ask or I don't know, Amazon, what is it called? Alexa, whatever.
Yeah, we probably turned on somebody's Alexa right now.
Yeah.
You just ordered dog food, Branimir. Thanks, buddy.
Raise heat.
Well, actually, these cool little thingies, they like query a knowledge graph back, all of them. And but Alexa queries Amazon's knowledge graph. Hey Google, Google's knowledge graph. And now think of, and all of these are able to respond in a sensible way because they have a lot of interconnected data, but they're all closed in. So every one of them is its own island. Imagine having the ability to query all of them all together. The level of network effects is then exponential on the next level, because it's more data, more interconnected, and in order to do this, you need obviously some permissionless, decentralized system that Google won't give you this, because for them it's hard to integrate. Also, other companies also in the Web 2, not only do they not think in this way, but also that they it kind of goes against the products. Then you have to somehow reconcile. For the DKG, it makes perfect sense, because not only are you able to query all of the verifiable data that's in the decentralized knowledge graph, why not just get some additional data from Google? It's up to the user who queries this data to decide, all right, maybe I'm going to use this, maybe not, but like I'm able to. And this is all of what decentralization in Web3 is all about. It's about having the ability to choose, to pick what you want to get, to pick who you want to trust, to have the tools that are open, that you can verify all of this information, that you can do something useful for it, rather than, and have this data be yours, essentially, because having the ability to offer your data, either as an app builder or data scientist or regular person, just keeping ownership of your data and then turning it into assets and being able to expose that to the knowledge graph.
Wow.
So that's something that the DKG can do and makes sense.
So guys, now on the topic of Google and such, stay tuned, okay? I have some stuff coming for you guys, but we're just gonna wrap out the educational portion of this video and get on to the next steps of what we actually need to be doing. So it says here, launching the OriginTrail Decentralized Knowledge Graph version 6. The launch of the OriginTrail V6 will be performed in 3 stages, sequentially introduce technical layers by switching one system at a time. It says stage 1 starts off today, and this was released on the 27th of December, if I remember correctly. I'm just talking off the top of my head, so that date might be wrong, but we're talking about last year, December, where this program actually kicked off. With bootstrapping the network, with bootstrapping the first OriginTrail V6 Stage 1 network, the goal of Stage 1 is to verify smooth operation of the V6 network and data layer in a public network environment. Branimir did state that the testnet had been running in private environments for some time, so now basically we're just getting it out there. So what exactly will we be doing in stage 1? Here it is. The involvement of the node running community will facilitate the speed of successful completion of stage 1. Each node will be capable of collecting granular network KPI and telemetry data and publishing it to the DKG itself, further utilized by the core developers to improve the DKG implementation and proceed through the launch stages. For that purpose, there will be a designed reward pool that node runners will be able to collect by submitting relevant network utilization data. So this is great. If you're interested in getting the OriginTrail network from this initial testing phase, we need you to participate. And the more we participate, the quicker we get results on the OriginTrail decentralized network, the quicker version 6 comes to your hands and my fingertips. So this is the power of incentivizing this testnet so that we can really get the results and get good quality data. We will talk about that at some point in time as well. So that's stage 1. Stage 1, we're just trying to get to stage 2. Now, I will tell you, stage 1 is exciting, stage 1 is sexy, stage 1 is beautiful, but stage 2, oh my God, man. Well, I'm excited for stage 2 because stage 2 is more than just what it seems, right? Let's read about stage 2. Oh, by the way, this is the telemetry hub. Wait, let me take off my my cursor here. This is the actual. So by the way, this is the actual telemetry hub view of the telemetry hub. This will be released to all of us, but it's not out yet. Okay. So here is stage 2. Stage 2 kicks in immediately once stage 1 KPIs are stable. It will introduce the incentivization layer, implemented through smart contracts, opening the doors for token movement, including delegation, staking, and improving several existing mechanisms. We're gonna finish reading the rest of this, but guys, oh my God, You guys know how excited I am about this stuff, because this is really where we start talking about and really accessing knowledge economy, because there are 4 I's that govern the OriginTrail ecosystem: interoperability, interconnectivity, integrity, and the final I was recently introduced come liftoff. It was the concept of incentivization into the knowledge economy for data. So really and truly, we're now really branching into all the cute and sexiness that we've always wanted all along. So it said, reaching system completeness in stage 2 will again be expedited by the contributions from the OriginTrail community running the decentralized knowledge graph. The nodes will continue to publish relevant network usage data by performing various tests on the DKG after each upgrade. So after each upgrade, we're constantly spamming the team with this telemetry data, which then allows them to make improvements and adjustments. And of course, whatever bugs we report, please take it to the GitHub. I know Brandomir is smiling right now as soon as I mentioned that. I know you're smiling, Brandomir. Keep smiling because you're doing good work. But take your complaints and issues to GitHub so that the team can resolve them. And of course, the quicker we get those resolved, the quicker we're all up and running on mainnet. And then, of course, as it says right here, finally, stage 3 will kick off after stage 2 KPIs are stable, and we'll focus on the migration from the current version 5 of the OriginTrail to hit V6 to OriginTrail V6 hitting the main net. This will include backward compatibility tests, a network update exercise, and other related activities. So what we're seeing here is we're going from where we are today, January 17th. We're going from just testing the network, getting all the KPIs stable. Then we're going to introduce some of the knowledge economy tools into this system, and then we're also going to move into launching on mainnet and having everyone up and ready to digest the OriginTrail ecosystem and knowledge graph. So before we close out, I did want to read this one snippet that I highlighted here. It said, in the Turing phase, we're also seeing the expansion of DKG capabilities for NFT dApp builders, making it easy to discover, protect, connect, and evolve any asset. So it's just important that I want you guys to know that what is going to happen in the world, it's going to be seen as stupid, as dumb, as inefficient to not leverage the OriginTrail decentralized knowledge graph. People will be looking at you like, why isn't that on the DKG? Just DKG it and add your assets or add your properties. Just DKG it. This is the time is here where everywhere. You know what? I want somebody to make a shirt called DKG it. Just DKG it or just DKG it, because this is what is coming to us. This is what is coming to OriginTrail, where everyone from the top of CoinMarketCap to the bottom of CoinMarketCap saying, just DKG it. So guys, I'm very excited for the future of OriginTrail. If you are too, you better hit that like, you better hit that subscribe, and you better share this video to somebody you want to be rich, because I'm telling you, OriginTrail is paving the way for Web3, and we are all here to help them do it. Guys, like, share, and subscribe. Stay tuned and stay beautiful. Before I close out, I have so much content coming to you guys. I hope you guys just hold on to your little seatbelts and enjoy. All right, now we can close out and stay beautiful.